Good afternoon and welcome back to 29 News Streaming. Live in the newsroom, I'm Isla Miyabi, and thanks for joining me for today's daily news update. We have a guest today, Avery Davis. Avery, so you've been giving us so many updates on this redistricting push from Virginia Democrats, and it seems to be a pretty quick-moving process. What can you tell us about what's happening today compared to what was happening just last week?
Yeah, Isla, you're exactly right. It has been very fast as Democrats in Richmond are really racing to pass this effort to redraw the congressional maps before midterms, which again are in November. We now know that early voting is going to start March 6th in just a couple weeks, with that referendum date being April 21st. What we can expect now in the next couple weeks is really a blitz of advertising and campaigning from both sides as they really try to convince voters and even educate voters on what this redistricting referendum is. Again, we're going to be seeing a lot of ads on TV as millions and millions of dollars, both national and local, flood to Virginia to try to convince voters to either pass this redistricting effort or to reject it.
So it seems like a lot of this focus has shifted over to the referendum, but what can you tell us about what influence the outcome of this election will have on the Supreme Courts, if any?
Yeah, and again, as a reminder, this all started when a Tazewell judge ruled that this redistricting effort by Democrats was done unconstitutionally. The argument is because of the timeline of its passage. Essentially, there were 1 million voters, more than 1 million votes that had been cast in early voting before November, before Democrats had this special election to initially push redistricting. It's created this whole kind of court saga that is still ongoing. On Friday, the Supreme Court of Virginia, which is now hearing the case, decided that the referendum can be held, but they haven't made a final decision on whether the redistricting effort is constitutional or unconstitutional. Again, we still don't know when those oral arguments are going to be heard, and that's really the big question on everyone's mind. Will voters go to the polls only to have this whole measure overruled as unconstitutional? We really don't know. But what I am told, and what I will share more at 5 and 6, is how it's pretty rare for the court to overrule the legislature. They typically like to let the legislator rule on their own. Again, we're going to have more at 5 and 6 on this whole redistricting saga, which I'm sure will only continue in the coming weeks. But thank you, Isla.
Yeah, thank you so much, Avery. I can't wait to see what's happening. Now, shifting over to some more local news. A special copy of the Declaration of Independence is coming to the University of Virginia just in time for President's Day. Gabby Womack is there now to share how you can see it and what makes this copy so special. And as visitors prepare to see that rare document, state leaders are focusing on another important investment. Governor Abigail Spanberger announced $4.9 million in grants invested in Virginia food systems Friday, with over $1 million expected to reach programs in the Charlottesville area. Kendall Hansen is speaking with an urban forester about how these grants are supporting the agriculture industry. The Charlottesville Parks and Recreation Department is beginning tree work on 5th Street today. Kendall Hansen tells us about which roads will be affected and what this project aims to accomplish. And as those grants begin to take, attention is turning over to the political landscape here in the 5th District. Congressman John McGuire is running for re-election in the 5th District, and Kate Nectarline will be joining us live this afternoon at the first of his series of meet and greets. Make sure you tune in at 4:30 to get the latest. Now let's take a look over at our weather for today. We can see here we are looking at temperatures in the upper 40s and lower 50s. Looking at our skycast, we can see that it's partly sunny. We have some clouds and winds coming in from the southeast today, and we're seeing weather that's pretty typical for this time of year. Looking at later tonight, we're still going to have that same southwest breeze coming in. It's going to be partly cloudy and a lot colder. Looking at tomorrow, again, that same nice sunny February weather, and this pattern seems to continue on until later in the week, but we have 2 fronts coming in later this week, which is going to be affecting the weather, both in temperature and rain. That's all for today's edition of Your Day in News. Thanks so much for tuning in. For 29 News, I'm Isla Miyabi.